Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Hello.
The moment she said it, the world shifted beneath me. I had been staring at the TV, a meaningless game playing in the background, half listening to the sounds of my wife moving around the house. It was a normal night, or so I thought. Then she stood in front of me, arms crossed, her expression disturbingly composed for what she was about to say. "Accept my lover or I'll divorce you." I blinked. For a second, I thought I had misheard her. Maybe I was tired. Maybe she was joking. But she wasn't. The room felt impossibly small, the walls pressing in, squeezing the breath from my lungs. My fingers curled into fists against the couch, a slow, creeping burn spreading through my chest. I studied her face, searching for some sign that she understood the weight of what she'd just said. That maybe, just maybe, she would take it back. But no, her lips were set in that smug, self-assured way that I hadn't noticed before but now seemed so painfully obvious. She was convinced she had won before the game even started. "Excuse me," I finally said, my voice so calm it surprised even me. "You heard me?" she huffed, flipping her hair over her shoulder, the way she did when she was trying to make herself feel superior. "I'm done sneaking around. You can either accept it and let things be, or we get a divorce. Your choice." A choice. As if this was some kind of reasonable adult discussion. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I needed to process this, needed to pull back before I reacted in a way that would give her control over the moment. Her stance shifted slightly, just enough for me to notice her uncertainty. She had expected anger, a fight, maybe even for me to beg, not silence. "I'm not angry," I said, finally standing. She had the audacity to take a half step back, her confidence flickering for the briefest moment before she recovered. "I'm just surprised. Tell me, when exactly did you decide my feelings didn't matter?" She scoffed. "Oh, don't play the victim, Ryan. We haven't been happy for years. And you know it." I let out a slow breath. There it was. The justification. The rewriting of history. She continued, her voice growing bolder as she mistook my silence for weakness. "I've spent too long pretending. Too long living a lie just to keep you happy." She folded her arms, staring at me like I was the unreasonable one. "I love him. He makes me feel alive. And frankly, this whole monogamy thing is outdated. Plenty of couples have open marriages, and they're just fine. You can either grow up and accept this, or we can end things now." She was challenging me, daring me to fight for her, daring me to crumble. I forced a smile, even as something cold and dark curled in my chest. "And what if I say no?" Her lips pressed together, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "Then we divorce." "And you think that's a threat?" I asked, tilting my head. For the first time, a flicker of hesitation crossed her face. "You won't be able to afford the house without me," she said, as if she had already figured out all my weaknesses. "I make more than you. Do you really want to start over? You'd lose everything." I studied her. This woman I had married, who now stood before me as a stranger. She had already written me off. She thought she had me trapped. That was her first mistake. I took a step closer and she stiffened. "You seem very sure of yourself, Aaron," I said, my voice quiet but sharp. "Very sure that you hold all the cards." She tossed her hair again, regaining her composure. "Because I do." I laughed. The sound caught her off guard, and she flinched. "You don't," I said simply. Her confidence cracked, just a little. She wasn't used to me being this calm. She had expected rage, heartbreak, pleading. She had not expected indifference. I reached for my phone, scrolling through it casually. "So, who is he?" I asked as if it were an afterthought. "This great love of your life?" She shifted again, clearly debating whether or not to tell me. Then, with a smirk, she answered, "His name is Adam." I nodded, memorizing the name, even as my mind spun with possibilities. "I see." She frowned, clearly not expecting such a neutral response. "That's all you have to say?" she scoffed. "For now." She let out a huff, throwing up her hands. "You're being ridiculous. This could be easy." You don't have to make this difficult, Ryan. You and I can still be friends. I smiled again. This time, I knew it unnerved her. We'll see about that. With that, I walked past her, heading upstairs. She didn't call after me. She assumed I was sulking, processing. Good. Let her think that, because in reality, I was already planning my next move. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't the man my wife thought I was, not anymore. Last night had changed something fundamental inside me. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to rage. I was going to outsmart her. I dressed with care, grabbing my jacket and keys before heading out. Erin was still asleep, sprawled across the bed like she had nothing to worry about. I didn't even glance at her. She had made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. I drove across town to a small cafe, the kind of place that never got too crowded and didn't have security cameras watching your every move. It was neutral ground. I had chosen it deliberately. At exactly 9 a.m., a man slid into the seat across from me. Nathan. He was an old friend. One I hadn't seen much of in the last few years, mostly because Erin didn't like him. Said he was too cynical, too jaded. Maybe she had sensed that he could see right through her. Been a while, Ryan, Nathan said, stirring his coffee. He didn't sound surprised that I had called him out of the blue. But then again, he was the kind of guy who always expected bad news. I didn't bother with small talk. I need information, I said. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That's serious? Worse. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, tell me what you know. I told him everything. How Erin had stood in front of me like a queen on her throne, declaring her new reign. How she had expected me to fold. How she had handed me the name of her lover like it meant nothing. Nathan leaned back in his chair, his fingers drumming against the table. Adam, huh? What's his last name? I don't know yet. He let out a low whistle. Well, let's find out, shall we? Nathan was a private investigator by trade, though he preferred to call himself an information broker. If there was dirt to be found, he would find it. He pulled out his phone and started typing. Let's start with the basics. Do you have any idea where she met him? She said they've been seeing each other for months. Could be through work or mutual friends. Nathan smirked. Or some sleazy dating app for married people. I clenched my jaw. Just find him. Nathan worked quickly, and within minutes he had something. Bingo. Found a guy named Adam who fits the profile. He's in finance, works for one of those mid-sized investment firms downtown. Married. I felt my pulse quicken. He's married. Oh yeah, and guess what? His wife's a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. I exhaled slowly. Does she know? Nathan shook his head. Doubt it. This guy's been careful. But not careful enough. He turned his phone to show me a picture. Adam, grinning like a used car salesman, standing next to a beautiful brunette with 2 toddlers clinging to her legs. Disgust curled in my stomach. This wasn't just an affair. Erin had helped a man cheat on his entire family. Nathan watched me closely. So, what's the plan? I tapped the table thoughtfully. I don't want to just expose them. I want to turn them against each other first. A slow grin spread across Nathan's face. Oh, I like where this is going. Good, I said, because I'm going to need your help. I had no intention of blowing this up all at once. That would be too easy. No, first I had to plant the seed. Nathan did what he did best, reaching out to Adam's wife through an anonymous tip. Nothing too explicit. Just enough to make her start watching her husband more closely. Check his phone records. Look at his credit card statements. Pay attention to his late nights at the office. If she had any doubts before, she wouldn't for much longer. While Adam's wife was waking up to reality, I started working on Erin. I acted normal, pretended I was still thinking things through. I even made her breakfast just to keep her off guard. I needed her to believe she was still in control, because soon that control was going to slip through her fingers. Nathan uncovered more than I expected. Turns out Adam had been moving money around, transferring small amounts into a private account, likely preparing for a divorce, or maybe just ensuring his wife wouldn't get much if he ever got caught. But the best part? Adam had lied to Erin. He had told her he was getting a divorce soon, that his marriage was basically over. But his financial moves said otherwise. I knew exactly what to do with this information. I waited until Erin was in the shower and texted her from a burner phone. "You're not the only woman Adam is lying to." I attached screenshots of his bank transfers, proof that he was still financially tied to his wife. Then I sent another message. "Ask him about it. See how honest he is with you." I erased the evidence and walked away, knowing exactly what was about to happen. Erin hated being deceived. She thought she was the one in control, the one calling the shots. But what would happen when she realized Adam had been feeding her lies, just like she had been feeding me? She wouldn't be able to resist confronting him. She would demand answers. And Adam? He would panic. He might even try to throw her under the bus. And just like that, the cracks in their perfect little fantasy would start to form. This wasn't just revenge. This was psychological warfare. And I was just getting started. Erin had no idea she was holding a grenade with the pin already pulled. I kept my distance that evening, acting like nothing had changed, like I was still the confused, spineless husband she expected me to be. I watched as she scrolled through her phone, fingers moving fast, eyes narrowing. She had seen the messages. She had seen the bank transfers. And now, doubt was creeping in. I made sure to be in the kitchen when she grabbed her keys, throwing on her jacket with a huff of irritation. "Going somewhere?" I asked casually, sipping my coffee. She barely glanced at me. "Out. I'll be back later." I let out a soft chuckle. "Take your time." She paused just for a second, like she was trying to figure out if there was some hidden meaning behind my words. Then, she shook her head and walked out the door. Perfect. I already knew where she was going. Erin was on her way to confront Adam. I pulled out my phone and sent a message to Nathan. "It's happening. Time to push things along." Nathan had been busy. While Erin was in transit, he sent an anonymous message to Adam. "She knows about the money. She's on her way. Be careful what you say." Just like that, Adam was on edge before Erin even arrived. Now all I had to do was wait. I stayed home, pretending to watch TV, my phone buzzing every few minutes as Nathan sent updates. It started with Erin showing up at Adam's condo, her car skidding into the driveway faster than usual. She didn't even bother knocking, just stormed in, slamming the door behind her. Adam was already sweating. The argument started almost instantly. Nathan, being the resourceful man he was, had planted a small audio device near the entryway before Erin arrived. I couldn't hear every word, but the snippets Nathan sent me were glorious. "Erin, don't lie to me, Adam. I saw the transfers. If you're so done with your wife, why are you still hiding money? Adam, calm down, okay? It's not what you think." Erin, "Oh, really? Then explain it." Adam hesitated. That moment of silence? That was everything. Because Erin had spent months believing she was the main character in this love story, believing Adam was just some poor man trapped in a loveless marriage. But now, she was questioning everything. And Adam? He was scrambling. While Erin was busy screaming at Adam, I had Nathan send one last message to Adam's wife. "Your husband's mistress is at your house right now. Here's the address." Just like that, the third player entered the game. I smiled to myself, imagining how things were about to go down. Erin and Adam were so focused on fighting each other, they didn't realize the real storm was on its way. 30 minutes later, my phone vibrated again. "Nathan, she's here." Adam's wife had arrived. Nathan watched from a safe distance as she pulled up to the house, stepping out of her car with slow, deliberate movements. She didn't rush inside like Erin had. She wasn't emotional. She was calculating. Nathan snapped a quick picture of her standing in the doorway before she rang the bell. And then, all hell broke loose. Nathan sent a final audio clip. It was absolute chaos. Adam, caught between two furious women, was losing control. Erin, "Who the hell is this?" Adam's wife, "Oh, you don't know? That's interesting. I thought my husband told you everything." Erin, "You're his wife." Adam, "Listen, baby, I was gonna tell you." Erin, Baby, are you out of your damn mind? You've been playing both of us? Then came the slap. It was faint, but I heard it. A sharp crack, followed by Adam cursing under his breath. Then chaos. Shouting. Accusations. Erin wasn't just angry. She was humiliated. And Adam? He was cornered. I sat back in my chair, enjoying the show from miles away. Everything was falling apart. Adam, realizing he was backed into a corner, did the only thing cowards do in moments of desperation. He turned on Erin. Nathan barely caught this part, but apparently, Adam tried to throw Erin under the bus, telling his wife she was the one who pursued him, that she was the one who wanted something serious. Erin? She snapped. Erin, you lying piece of garbage. Adam, oh, now I'm the liar. You were ready to ruin your marriage for me. Erin, you said you loved me. Adam's wife. He says that to a lot of women, sweetheart. Oof, that one must have hurt. Nathan's last text to me was simple. Mission accomplished. They're tearing each other apart. And that was all I needed. At midnight, Erin came home. She looked wrecked. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smudged. She stormed inside, slamming her purse down on the counter. I didn't move from my spot on the couch. I just looked at her, waiting. For once, she was speechless. Her eyes flicked to me, then to my completely calm, unreadable expression. She wanted me to ask her what happened, to comfort her, to give her an opening to control the conversation. I didn't. Instead, I took a slow sip of my drink and said, "Rough night." Her lips parted, like she wanted to scream, but she couldn't, because she knew. She knew I had set her up, and she couldn't prove a damn thing. This was just the beginning. Now, it was time to watch them lose everything. The next morning, I found Erin sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at her untouched cup of coffee. She looked hollow, drained of the smug confidence she had flaunted just days ago. The betrayal she thought she controlled had turned against her. Good. I didn't ask her what happened. I didn't have to. I already knew. Instead, I grabbed my own cup of coffee and took a seat across from her, watching as she struggled to find the words. Finally, she spoke. Adam's wife is filing for divorce. I nodded, feigning mild surprise. Is that so? Erin's jaw tightened. She threw him out of the house last night. Of course she did. Nathan had made sure Adam's wife got a full dossier of his indiscretions, courtesy of yours truly. Bank transfers, receipts from secret hotel meetups, even a few incriminating messages Nathan had intercepted. Adam's world had collapsed in a single night. That's rough, I said, barely suppressing a smirk. You planning to take him in? She flinched, her fingers tightening around her mug. No, I'm done with him. I leaned back, sipping my coffee. That fast, huh? I thought he was your soulmate. She shot me a glare, but there was no fire behind it. Just exhaustion. He used me, she muttered. I almost laughed. Erin, who had been ready to destroy our marriage for this man, was now realizing she had been nothing but a disposable thrill to him. How did you find out? I asked casually. She hesitated. He admitted it. I raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to continue. She sighed, rubbing her temples like she had the worst headache of her life. After his wife kicked him out, he called me, said he needed a place to stay. I told him I wasn't his damn backup plan. A smirk tugged at my lips. And, she swallowed hard, shaking her head. He laughed. He actually laughed, Ryan. Said I was crazy if I thought he was ever serious about leaving his wife for me. There it was. The final nail in the coffin. I exhaled slowly, pretending to be deep in thought. Then, with the most indifferent tone I could muster, I said, "Guess you should have chosen better." Her head snapped up, eyes blazing with humiliation and anger. You don't get to act superior, Ryan. You weren't perfect in this marriage either. I chuckled. Maybe not. But I wasn't the one sneaking around and trying to force my spouse into an open relationship with an arrogant homewrecker. Was I? She looked away. She had no defense. Silence stretched between us. She was unraveling, and I was enjoying every second of it. Then my phone buzzed. Nathan's message was short and sweet. "Check your email. You'll love this." I excused myself and walked upstairs to my office, opening my laptop with anticipation. And there it was, the final blow. Adam's public disgrace. Nathan had been busy. Turns out, Adam's financial firm had a strict policy against workplace affairs, especially those involving high-profile clients. And wouldn't you know it? One of Adam's extracurricular activities had been with the wife of a major investor. An anonymous tip, along with carefully curated evidence, had been delivered to the firm's ethics committee first thing that morning. Within hours, Adam was fired. Nathan even sent a video of Adam storming out of the office, security escorting him to his car. His face was a mask of fury and humiliation. I laughed. It was too perfect. But the best part? Adam's soon-to-be ex-wife wasn't just divorcing him. She was taking everything. Nathan had made sure she had access to all of Adam's shady financial dealings, ensuring she would get the lion's share of the assets in court. By the time the divorce was finalized, Adam would be broke, jobless, and utterly alone. Exactly what he deserved. Erin's downfall. I took my time before returning downstairs. When I did, Erin was still at the kitchen table, lost in her own misery. I sat down across from her and placed my phone on the table, screen facing up. She glanced at it. Her eyes widened. She had seen the headline. Top financial advisor Adam Reynolds fired amid infidelity scandal. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. I leaned in, resting my elbows on the table. "You destroyed our marriage for a man who just lost everything." I let that sink in for a moment. Was it worth it? Her bottom lip trembled. "Ryan." I held up a hand. "No, I don't want to hear it." Her face crumpled. "Please, just save it." I stood up, grabbing my car keys. "I have somewhere to be." She sat there in stunned silence as I walked out the door, leaving her alone to sit in the wreckage of her own making. The final blow. I didn't drive far, just to a quiet park where I could sit and breathe in my victory. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about taking my power back. And yet, a part of me still felt the weight of what I had lost. Not Erin, but the version of myself who once trusted her. The man who once believed in our marriage, in our future. He was gone. And in his place, someone sharper, stronger, someone who wouldn't be fooled again. As I sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, my phone buzzed again. It was Erin. I stared at the screen, watching as her name flashed. I didn't answer. I knew what she wanted. But I also knew what was coming next. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. I let the phone ring. Erin's name flashed on the screen, over and over, like a desperate beacon searching for a safe harbor. I wasn't going to be that harbor. She had made her choice. Now she could live with it. I leaned back on the park bench, exhaling slowly as the weight of everything settled in. I had won. The revenge I had so meticulously crafted had unfolded perfectly, better than I had even imagined. Adam was finished. Erin was ruined. But why did it still feel so hollow? I had spent years loving Erin, even through the rough patches, through the small betrayals that I had ignored before the final one shattered everything. Now, as I sat here with everything in ruins around her, I felt nothing but a dull, quiet satisfaction. The man I used to be? He was long gone, and maybe that was for the best. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Nathan. "You're gonna love this. Adam is skipping town." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Nathan followed up with a screenshot, an online listing for a cheap apartment rental in another state. Adam was running. After losing his job, his wife, and his reputation, he wasn't even going to fight for anything. He was cutting his losses and disappearing before the final blows landed. What a coward. "He didn't even last a week," I texted back. Nathan replied almost instantly. "They never do. Men like him don't know how to deal with consequences." I smirked, shaking my head. Adam had spent months seducing my wife, filling her head with dreams of some grand future together. And the moment things got hard, he was gone. I imagined Erin sitting at home, staring at her phone, wondering why Adam wasn't calling her, why he wasn't begging her to run away with him. She had ruined her marriage for a fantasy that didn't even exist. And now, she had nothing. The wife's desperate attempt to return. It happened later that night. I was pouring myself a glass of whiskey, feeling the first genuine sense of peace I had felt in weeks, when I heard a knock at the door. Slow, hesitant. I already knew who it was. I took my time, letting her wait in the cold before finally pulling open the door. There she was, Erin. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face hollow from the stress of the last few days. She wasn't wearing any makeup, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't look like the confident, untouchable woman who had once stood in front of me and demanded that I accept her affair. No, she looked small. "Ryan," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. I said nothing. She swallowed hard, gripping the sleeves of her sweater. "Can I come in?" I leaned against the doorframe, letting the silence stretch until her discomfort became unbearable. "Why?" I finally asked. Her breath hitched. "Because I miss you." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You miss me?" She nodded quickly. "I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you. But I was confused, Ryan. Adam, he made me believe things that weren't true. I interrupted, raising an eyebrow. "So now it's his fault?" She hesitated, guilt flashing across her face. "Ryan, please. I need you to understand that." "You need me?" I scoffed. "You threw me away, Erin. You stood in this very house and told me to either accept your affair or leave. You chose him. And now that he's gone, what? You think you can just waltz back in and pretend none of this happened?" Her lip trembled. "I wasn't thinking straight. I got caught up in something that wasn't real. But this? You and me? This is real. We've built a life together. We can fix this. Fix this." Like it was a leaky pipe and not a complete betrayal. I let out a slow sigh, looking at her, really looking at her. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying for herself, for what she had lost. "I still love you." I stared at her for a long moment, then smiled. Cold, empty smile. "No, you don't," I said simply. "You just don't want to be alone." Her face crumpled. "That's not true." "Yes, it is." I cut her off, my voice as sharp as a blade. "You don't love me, Erin. If you did, you never would have done what you did. You just want a safety net. And I'm not going to be that for you." Her breath hitched. "So that's it? You're just throwing away everything we built?" I tilted my head. "No, Erin. You did that. I'm just choosing to move on." Tears spilled down her cheeks. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. I took one last look at her, then stepped back and closed the door in her face. The final reflection. I stood there for a moment, listening as she let out a choked sob before finally walking away. I didn't open the door again. I didn't second-guess my decision, because for the first time in a long time I felt free. This wasn't a victory. It wasn't about winning. It was about reclaiming myself. Erin had taken my love for granted. She had gambled with our marriage, thinking she could have everything, that I would always be there as a backup plan. But she was wrong. Actions have consequences. And she was finally paying the price. As I sat back down, pouring myself another glass of whiskey, I realized something. I wasn't just free of Erin. I was free of the man who once loved her. And that was the greatest revenge of all. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
See you.